Welcome to Imran Star Video, or as we call it, ISVi, the collaborative lens on Vancouver, unfiltered, unscripted, and powered by community. We're not just a voice behind the mic, we're a collective of creators, thinkers, storytellers, and city lovers coming together to spotlight the people, places, and energy that make Vancouver what it is. From coast mountain skylines to neon-lit backstreets, we're covering everything from downtown buzz to the untold stories shaping our scene. You'll find us exclusively on YouTube, no algorithms, no filters, just real talk. For behind the scenes, updates, and chaotic brilliance in real time, follow us on TikTok and Instagram. So hit subscribe, drop a comment, and help us grow from 100 to 10, 0, and beyond. Because this isn't just our platform, it's yours too. Turn it up, get into it. Let's talk Vancouver. This is ISV. Let's face it, most people's relationship with art starts and ends with a painful high school field trip to a museum where they pretended to get a Rothko while secretly wondering if it was upside down. But Vancouver, she said, screw the entry fees and awkward gallery silence, and decided to throw art into the streets where you literally can't miss it even if you tried. This isn't the kind of art that makes you whisper or nod quietly while pretending to understand what postmodern minimalism is. This is art that photobombs your commute, looms over your latte run, and occasionally looks like it was commissioned by someone going through a very public breakup. And honestly, we love her for that. In Vancouver, public art isn't tucked away behind velvet ropes, it's everywhere. It's the 20-foot orca that looks like a Minecraft mod. It's the giant laughing men on the seawall that feel like they're judging your life choices. It's the upside-down church that screams Vancouver vibes more than any housing report ever could. This art isn't subtle, it's loud, weird, and ready to be the main character in your next Instagram dump. And here's the kicker. Public art is for everyone, not just for rich people sipping Chardonnay at auction galas. You don't need a ticket, a trust fund, or a strong opinion on cubism to enjoy it. Whether you're a deep-thinking art nerd or just someone who saw a giant spinning chandelier and said, "Yo, WTF is that?" Congratulations, you're engaging with public art. This chapter is all about that chaotic beauty. We're diving into the installations that make you stop and stare, the ones that spark debates in comment sections, and the pieces that unintentionally became meme-worthy icons. Because art isn't just something you go look at anymore, it's something you walk through, selfie with, trip over, and occasionally argue about on Twitter. So buckle up, because we're about to explore Vancouver's most unhinged, unexpected, and undeniably iconic public installations, the ones that make this city feel less like a concrete maze of overpriced condos and more like a collaborative fever dream with really good lighting. Let's be real. For a lot of us, traditional art spaces feel like walking into a rich person's living room where you're scared to touch anything or even breathe. Between the suspiciously quiet vibe, the fear of stepping too close to a canvas, and that one dude who smells like sandalwood and won't stop talking about liminality, it's no wonder people think art isn't for them. But public art? Public art doesn't judge. It doesn't require a dress code, an artist's statement written like a philosophy essay, or a $20 admission fee. It just exists on street corners, park benches, transit stations, and rooftops waiting to ambush you with existential wonder mid-Uber Eats pickup. It's art that meets you where you are, which is usually somewhere between emotionally unstable and slightly late for something. What makes it hit different is exactly that, accessibility. You don't have to know who the artist is. You don't need to understand post-structuralism. You can just look at it, feel something, or nothing, or everything all at once, like you're in a public-facing everything everywhere all at once arc. Public installations democratize creativity. They say, hey, we know you didn't major in art history, and that's fine. Here's a sculpture that looks like a robot mushroom and might low-key change your life. They interrupt the daily grind with a moment of, wait, what is that doing here? And that's powerful, because that pause, that's the art working. And while some folks might scoff at the TikTokification of public art, the selfies, the reels, the influencers twirling in front of murals like it's their Coachella moment, the truth is, attention is engagement. Art isn't sacred because it's untouchable. It's sacred because it's shared. If a giant mural makes you feel seen and slays on your grid, that's a win-win. Also, let's not forget that public art isn't just pretty, it's purposeful. It reflects community values, sparks conversation, challenges power structures, and sometimes even honors histories that the city would rather bury. One minute you're posing in front of a colorful abstract shape, and the next you're learning about a stolen neighborhood or an indigenous land claim. That's not performative. That's storytelling in surround sound. So yeah, public installations hit different. They sneak into your daily routine, dropkick your expectations, and then casually change how you see the world, all without demanding a LinkedIn bio or asking you to pretend you know what chiaroscuro means. This isn't art hiding in ivory towers. It's art on the street, in your face, and absolutely not asking for permission. And in a city like Vancouver, where public space is vanishing faster than your paycheck on rent day, that kind of cultural rebellion matters. Every city has its landmarks. New York has the Statue of Liberty, Paris has the Eiffel Tower, and Vancouver has a giant pixelated orca and some laughing bronze men who look like they've just read your search history. Welcome to the local art scene, where logic is optional, the vibes are high, and meaning is often left open to interpretation or chaotic Twitter threads. Let's start with The Digital Orca by Douglas Coupland, aka the Minecraft whale that launched 1,000 profile pics. Situated outside the Vancouver Convention Center, this piece screams art school final project meets marine life appreciation post. It's blocky, it's bold, and it makes absolutely no biological sense, but who cares? It's now one of the most recognizable public sculptures in the city, proof that pixel art didn't die with the Game Boy. Then there's Amazing Laughter, also known as the giant bronze men stuck in a perpetual laugh loop. Located in English Bay, these statues are either deeply joyful or deeply cursed, depending on your mood and whether or not you've had caffeine. They're big, shirtless, and seem like they'd absolutely photobomb your beach picnic. Bonus points, they've become an unofficial emotional support squad for tourists and locals alike. Now, if you've ever walked through downtown and thought, is that a giant upside-down church impaled on a pole? You're not hallucinating. That's device to root out evil, which may or may not be a passive-aggressive critique of organized religion, urban development, or the fact that Vancouver's housing market makes 0 sense. Either way, it's an architectural mic drop in the middle of a public plaza, iconic. Next up, the Giants on Granville Island. These colorful, larger-than-life mural characters wrap around industrial silos like they're cosplaying as sentient Crayola boxes. Created by Brazilian duo Os Gêmeos, they're part of the Vancouver Biennale and prove that even cement containers deserve to feel fabulous sometimes. They're cheerful, bold, and unintentionally terrifying at 2 a.m., much like this city itself. And then there's Trans Am Totem, which is, well, it's 5 used cars stacked on a tree stump in the middle of a busy road. Is it a critique of consumerism? A visual metaphor for environmental collapse? A tribute to Fast Furious but make it indigenous informed installation art? We may never know. But one thing's for sure, this tower of vintage sedans screams Vancouver more than any tourism campaign ever could. Other honorable mentions? Spinning chandelier under the Granville Bridge because nothing says public art, like a bougie, glowing chandelier dropping from the sky like it's auditioning for Phantom of the Opera, Downtown Core Edition. Vortex, the large metal spiral that kind of looks like a Dyson Airwrap for giants. and those ephemeral chalk murals that show up after rainstorms and disappear faster than your hope during Mercury retrograde. Each of these pieces is more than just a photo op. They're conversation starters, cultural statements, and sometimes just straight up aesthetic chaos in the best way possible. They don't ask for your approval, they demand your attention. And whether you're awestruck, confused, or already Googling what the hell did I just walk past, that's the whole point. So next time you're downtown and spot a surreal sculpture that looks like it belongs in a dystopian IKEA catalog, don't just walk by, stop, stare, take a selfie, and spiral philosophically like a true Vancouverite. Once upon a time, public art was made to inspire introspection, stir philosophical debate, and make you go, in a profound way. These days, it might also make you say, wait, this would slap on my grid, before hitting it with the Valencia filter and a deep-sounding caption you stole from Pinterest. Welcome to the era of art that doubles as content, and no, it's not the end of civilization. Sure, the purists will clutch their pearls and cry, art shouldn't be made for Instagram. But here's the plot twist. People are looking, people are sharing. And public art is going viral not because it's diluted, but because it's seen. And let's be honest, if a 30-foot neon octopus helps someone accidentally engage with culture while they were just trying to find a new Tinder profile pic, that's still a win for the arts. Take murals, for example. What used to be dismissed as graffiti now fuels influencer engagement, like it's a visual caffeine shot. People line up for hours to pose in front of color block walls, dripping typography, or interactive installations that basically scream, "Tag me, daddy." And you know what? That attention turns into traction, which turns into funding, which turns into more art, which turns into more TikToks. Even Vancouver's most extra installations, like the spinning chandelier or the Granville Island silos, have achieved icon status thanks to their photogenic flair. These pieces aren't just sitting around being profound, they're dancing through your feed like they know they're hot. They're getting reposted, remixed, and reinterpreted by people who maybe don't even know the artist's name but now know they exist. And that's reach, baby. Is there a risk that meaning gets lost in the scroll? Of course. But honestly, art being used as a backdrop doesn't cancel out its depth, it just adds layers. One person's thirst trap might lead another to look up the mural's meaning. Someone's reel might introduce a friend to an indigenous artist they never would have known. And let's not pretend social media doesn't bring some democratization to the mix. You don't need a gallery rep to get attention, just a public wall, a concept, and maybe a ring light if you're fancy. For BIPOC, queer, disabled, and emerging artists, this visibility can literally mean the difference between obscurity and opportunity. So the next time someone sneers and says, "It's just Instagram bait," kindly remind them that we live in a visual culture now. And if your art can't survive a selfie, maybe it's not the audience's fault. Because in a world where everything's content, the fact that people are choosing art to post, pose with, and parade online, that's not a crisis. That's a cultural win. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Public art isn't just about creativity. It's about bureaucracy, budgets, and battling Karen from the condo board who thinks a mural might lower property values. For every sculpture that makes it to the sidewalk, there's a trail of grant applications, zoning headaches, and a group of very serious people arguing whether or not rainbow crosswalks count as real art. You see, public art doesn't magically appear like a Banksy in the night. It has to be funded, approved, placed, and get this defended. First up, funding. While cities love bragging about their vibrant public art scene in tourism ads, they're often allergic to actually paying artists a living wage. Imagine spending 6 months on a sculpture, only to get offered exposure and a lukewarm muffin. Exposure doesn't pay rent, Janet. Then there's the matter of space. In a city like Vancouver, where there's barely enough room to park your existential dread, let alone a large-scale installation getting wall space or outdoor square footage, is basically like winning the Hunger Games. Developers slap up luxury towers and toss in a mandatory public art contribution, like it's garnish, and suddenly you've got a 3D printed moose sculpture in front of a yoga studio named Breathe. And that leads us to the big question: who gets seen? Public art has the power to amplify voices, rewrite narratives, and reclaim space. But too often, those opportunities go to the same predictable folks you know, people with gallery connections, grant-writing PhDs, or whose last name rhymes with established. Let's be real, public space is political space. And what goes in that space reflects who a city values and who it doesn't. When art honors indigenous land, community trauma, or local resistance, it often gets labeled as controversial by the same people who think a bronze abstract of a cube is inspiring. And when a piece finally does make it through the gauntlet, cue the online outrage. Why did the city pay for that? What even is this supposed to be? My tax dollars are funding this weird metal blob? Yes, Cheryl. Yes, they are. And that weird metal blob is doing more to provoke thought than your HOA's landscaping budget ever has. So yeah, behind the joy, confusion, and selfies that public art brings, there's a whole fight happening over money, over message, over meaning, and it's a fight worth having. Because art that's truly public should reflect the public, not just the Pinterest board of a city planner with trust fund taste and no range. If you think a 30-foot tall bronze dude laughing in a public park is peak weird, just wait. The future of public art is about to leave the chat, hack the mainframe, and install an update you weren't emotionally prepared for. Gone are the days when public art meant a tasteful fountain and maybe a moody sculpture of a leaf. The future? It's interactive, high-tech, community-sourced, and possibly sentient. Let's start with the obvious. Technology is crashing the art party, and it didn't even bring a bottle of wine. Augmented reality, AR, murals are already popping off. You scan a wall with your phone, and boom, it comes to life. Tells you a story, and maybe even reads you for filth if the artist's feeling spicy. Want to see the past, present, and possible futures of a single street corner? There's probably an app for that. AI-generated art installations? Already here. Imagine walking past a digital billboard that changes based on local mood data or public transit delays. One day, it's a serene abstract. The next, it's glitching out and screaming in color-coded patterns because someone canceled the 99B line again. That's not just art, that's urban emotional intelligence. But it's not all robots and retina scans. The future of public art also includes getting back to our roots, literally. Climate-responsive installations are gaining ground. Think sculptures that change with the weather, murals that shift with air pollution levels, or light displays powered by solar panels and petty rage. Not only do these pieces look cool, they slap you with environmental awareness harder than a recycled metal protest sign. Meanwhile, indigenous-led public art is, rightfully, taking up more space, offering healing, education, and storytelling where billboards used to stand. These aren't just decorations, they're declarations. Imagine installations embedded with language reclamation, cultural memory, and land acknowledgement that you don't just read, you feel. The future's not just high-tech, it's deeply grounded too. And let's talk community co-creation, aka the art version of let's all trauma bond and paint something together. More cities are exploring participatory pieces, community murals, collaborative light installations, and pop-up galleries that exist for a week, then vanish like a Gen Z relationship. Art that isn't dropped on a neighborhood but grown within it. Call it grassroots, call it DIY, call it communal therapy with better color palettes. The future is also more fluid, mobile, and chaotic in the best way. We're talking pop-up projection shows, inflatable art, and guerrilla installations that appear overnight like Banksy's overachieving cousin. Public art might not even stay in one place anymore, it could move with you. Imagine riding the SkyTrain and watching a generative poem unfold across glass panels based on what station you're at, how late it is, and whether or not you remembered to charge your phone. Will all of it be good? No. Some of it will flop harder than a season 2 Netflix reboot. But that's the beauty of public art. It's allowed to be weird, messy, and fail spectacularly in the open. Because that openness, that's the point. It makes room for surprise, for risk, for reflection, and yes, for a few cringy art bros in the comments section. So whether it's a virtual reality installation that makes you cry in a Walmart parking lot, or a solar-powered sculpture that only activates during eclipses, public art is about to level up. And if you thought a bronze bear wearing a hat was quirky, just wait until your sidewalk starts talking back. Let's be honest, we've all been that person at least once. You see a giant mural or trippy sculpture, whip out your phone, hit a quick pose that screams, "I woke up like this." You didn't. Slap on the Oslo filter, and keep it moving like you didn't just walk past a culturally significant art piece that took 6 months, 4 grants, and 1 existential crisis to complete. You engaged, the art emotionally ghosted. But it doesn't have to be that way. Supporting public art goes way beyond securing likes on Instagram or filming a TikTok that says vibes, but not much else. Being a better art consumer and less of a public menace starts with a little awareness, a tiny bit of respect, and maybe, just maybe, reading the dang plaque. That's right. Step 1. Read the artist's name. Say it out loud. Google them. Find their socials. They probably have a website with a dreamy artist statement that includes the words liminality and temporal space. Clap for that, support that. Maybe even Venmo them if the vibes are right. Artists are often working unpaid overtime to make your city prettier, and the least you can do is know who's behind the magic. Step 2. Engage beyond the pixels. That mural isn't just background noise for your gym thirst trap. Try to understand the story behind it. Is it honoring a community, critiquing capitalism, representing joy, grief, resistance, or all three at once while staring directly into your soul? Let it hit you, let it marinate, let it become your personality for the next 24 hours. Step 3. Attend the free stuff. Yes, free. Vancouver hosts walking tours, artist talks, and pop-up exhibits that are cooler than any overpriced rooftop mixer you're pretending to enjoy. And guess what? Real-life art energy is unmatched. You get context, connection, and probably a tote bag you'll carry once and never wash. And while we're here, support the dang process. If you see a petition to preserve a local mural from getting steamrolled by another soulless vape lounge, sign it. Donate to community arts orgs. Upvote public art funding in city surveys. Yes, even the boring PDFs that look like tax forms. Art survives when people fight for it, even if that fight is just an angry email with the subject line, "Save the Laughing Men." Finally, share mindfully. Credit the artist in your post. Use captions that don't reduce the art to aesthetic. It's fine to be cute online, but it's even better to be cute and conscious. Because that piece you just used as a backdrop for your solo mood shoot, it might be telling a generational story, or reclaiming indigenous space, or processing grief, or all of the above. Bottom line, public art isn't there to be consumed and discarded like a viral meme. It's there to shift something in you, even if just for a second. So stay curious, stay awkward, stay present. Take the selfie, but also take the time. Because if we're lucky enough to have a city covered in free, brilliant, confrontational art, the least we can do is actually look. If you've made it this far, congrats, you now know more about Vancouver's public art scene than 97% of people who post selfies in front of it. You've unlocked the lore, the chaos, the politics, and the existential metal blobs. And now, dear reader, it's time to accept the truth. You're not just a viewer anymore, you're part of the art. This city is a living, breathing gallery, and not the kind with suspicious security guards and overpriced gift shops. It's an open-air fever dream where bronze giants laugh at your late-stage capitalism whales are made of pixels, and murals spill across alleyways like the walls themselves are tired of being boring. You don't need an art degree or a curated feed to belong here, just eyes, feelings, and a decent sense of sidewalk navigation. Vancouver's public art is bold, bizarre, beautiful, and occasionally batched, which is exactly what makes it so special. It reflects us, messy, searching, a little anxious, deeply expressive, and very into oversized metaphors. It's not always perfect, but neither are we, and that's the point. Whether it's a First Nation sculpture holding space on colonized land, a chalk drawing washed away by rain, or a mural that makes you cry, and you're not even sure why this city's art is talking. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it screams. Sometimes it just sits there and looks pretty while you project all your unresolved trauma onto it. Either way, it's doing its job. So, next time you're walking through downtown, headphones on, main character energy in full force, and you pass a sculpture that looks like a giant philosophical joke stop, stare, wonder, take the selfie? Sure. But also ask yourself what it's saying, what it's challenging, and what part of your story it's now part of. Because Vancouver's public art isn't just here for decoration. It's here to disrupt, delight, provoke, confuse, and connect. And lucky you live in the middle of it. The city's the canvas, the art is the spark. And you're in the frame now. Go make it weird. And just like that, the city's pulse slows, but the story doesn't stop. You've been watching ISVi Imran's Star Video, where voices come together and the city speaks back. We're a crew, not a single face. A movement, not a moment. And every episode, that's built with you, for you, by all of us. From the seawall to the skyline, from underground voices to rooftop vibes, we're telling the stories that don't make the news, but make the neighborhood. If this episode hit, pass it on. Subscribe on YouTube, follow us on TikTok and Instagram, drop a comment, and tell us what your Vancouver sounds like. We're building this together, clip by clip, story by story. From 100 to 10K to wherever this takes us. When we get there, we all show up. So until the next drop, stay loud, stay collective, and stay in it. This is ISVi signing off.